Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Michaela Peters. There's a secret that I have, which is if I'm wearing a headband, it usually means that my hair is greasy and I haven't washed it yet and I don't feel like washing it before I do the video for today. And I feel like a lot of times I'm spending the whole day thinking about what I'm going to do the video on, and it changes 3 times between the moment I wake up and the moment I actually record the video. And today's video is going to be dedicated to my cousin because yesterday I called my grandmother and my aunt is there, and then my aunt is like, "Oh, your cousin is asking about all the different medications you've been on and like wants to know about them." So whenever somebody asks me a question, I do this really awkward thing where I'm like, I'm just going to make a video about it because I'm sure other people want to know about this, and I'm just going to send it to that person. Like, that was what I did with one of the NASA videos, because I'm like, this is just a lot of information to type out, so let's just make a video and send it. So today I'm going to be doing something called medication review, which unfortunately I feel like is not going to be that interesting because I've only been on like 2 medications. But I'm going to talk about how they affected me, and I often joke that my only regret in life was not going on Accutane sooner. In addition to that, my only regret in life is not going to a psychiatrist sooner or going on antidepressants sooner. And the reason why I'm talking so openly about this is because I think it is something that really needs to become destigmatized more so that more people who need and deserve help can get help. And I've talked about this a lot already on this channel, but today I'm going to speak specifically to my experience with medication, what that journey looked like, how I individually overcame the stigma associated with the medication in order to make myself mentally okay with going on it. Got a lot of sun moving going on today. I also don't like that this is the time of day when all the dust is flying and it's driving me crazy. We also have diesel today. Okay, so first off, I talk about this a lot, but like, I really hate my psychiatrist. Okay, why am I going to start it off that way? Because I do feel like my psychiatrist has impeded my ability to get proper ADHD treatment, which has really made me annoyed, especially when we factor in the fact that healthcare is so expensive in the US. Like, I've been on the same medication now for like over a year. And he's like, "Okay, so I'll see you in a month." And I'm like, "Can you just give me the 3-month refill? And do I really need to see you in a month when I've already been on the same medication and you're already going to ask me the same questions?" And like, I just said, I like need my health insurance money for other things this year. So can we just not do that? And then he was like, "Okay." So I have even thought about trying to get my scripts filled in Finland because I think they'd be cheaper there. At least a doctor's visit. You know, every time I see a psychiatrist, I think it's like still like $80, and it's like for 30 minutes, so he can ask me the same question that he already has been asking me for the last however many visits I've had. And we're not changing my medications at this point, so I don't really understand because I can't get him to change my medications. So why don't I just go to a different psychiatrist? Because I like my therapist and they don't really like this split services thing. So because I'm in network already with a therapist, they don't really want me to be going outside to another psychiatrist. That does beg the question, how would they know? It's a good question. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. But this is what they tell me, and I'm just like, whatever. I just try to not worry about this thing anymore. Okay, so one of the issues also that I have is that there is some sort of bias with women, especially attractive women, and I've talked about this in another video, not taking women's concerns as seriously in a healthcare setting. This also has to do with the fact that more attractive people are perceived as healthier, so therefore their medical concerns are also not taken as seriously. I was really weirded out to find this out, but this is apparently a thing. Okay, so now some of the other issues around seeing a male psychiatrist is like, he was very like, "Why aren't you on birth control? You need to be on birth control in order to regulate your moods." And I'm like, I mean, kind of. Like, do I feel like it helps sometimes a little bit with like maybe like some PMS symptoms? Because to be very honest, and you should not do this, I do not recommend this, but I did wean myself off of my antidepressants without telling my psychiatrist. Now, the reason I did this was because I did a neuropsych eval and I wanted my neuropsych eval to be a purer version of my brain. And I was like, I'm paying for this, you aren't, so I'm going to do what I want. And I had no issues at all with weaning myself off. And supposedly women who experience PMDD, premenstrual dysphoria something, how they tend to not have as many side effects when coming off of antidepressants. And supposedly the antidepressant I'm on is like not an easy one to come off of. So I don't know. But anyway, so my journey started something like this. I was going through a lot of stuff with like trying to figure out my relationship stuff in Finland. Like, it was hard with like making friends and like deciding who to trust and all this stuff, and I feel like people like kind of emotionally screwed me over. And now I'm back to my whole I don't let anybody too close, and to be honest, I'm pretty happy with this choice. Even though maybe it sounds sad, but it's not. It's just called being self-aware. Now I tried going on Lexapro. Lexapro is kind of the first one that they're going to put anybody on. It's just a standard SSRI. And very stupid story. I was on my grandmother's house. My dog ran away. We found him in the middle of the road. I picked him up and held him, and he probably had poison ivy on him, and then I started getting a rash, which I thought was a drug rash, so I stopped taking the Lexapro, and I figured I was allergic. Then I was going back to Finland, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to not do antidepressants. And I just, like, stayed in therapy. This is, like, what I did instead. And I mean, it was a struggle. Sometimes I wish I had gone on the antidepressant sooner. Like I said, like the two regrets is just basically not utilizing Big Pharma sooner. So when people talk crap about Big Pharma, I have a different opinion about this because it's changed my life in so many ways. So I didn't do Lexapro. I stuck it out a whole nother year in Finland. And then I came back from Finland, and that was, like, one of the worst experiences of my life, because, like, I actually finally made a life there that I liked, and it just took me a really long time to get there. I was also going through, you know, like, I guess, like, a breakup sort of thing, and that was hard. So, and then this is super whack, but I'm going to be pretty transparent in saying this, and this is going to sound, like, really conservative and whatnot, but, like, it's just, like, I think at that point, I felt like I'm never gonna get married. Like, I had this idea before I graduated college, I needed to know who I was marrying. Before I graduated college, I also needed to know what job I had, and that part at least works out for me. But I felt like some sort of, like, weird failure because I, like, hadn't figured out who I was marrying, and then I was like, I'm never gonna be able to, like, fulfill my womanly duty of getting married and reproducing. And this was, like, this, like, weird kind of rumination thing I had. So one of the things I'll tell people is a really cool thing about antidepressants is they sort of, like, whatever weird rumination cycles that you have, it just, like, cuts them. It just breaks them. Like, I don't know how. I have no idea how it does it. It just does. And so that was, like, one stupid thing that I had, like, on repeat in my head. And then I was kind of like, you know what? I have to plug into the US matrix. I have to start working. This is going to be really hard for me. I already know it's going to be really hard for me. And I was upset about, you know, the life I left behind in Finland, let's say, and then coming to the US and then, like, having to, like, I call it the matrix because all people care about here is work and money, and I think it's stupid. It's, like, not real life. Like, in Finland, I felt like I actually, like, experienced emotions and, like, had relationships with people, and my life felt, like, colorful. Here it just feels, like, dull. So, like, yes, I'm fully plugged back into the matrix now, and I feel nothing, and sometimes it's just okay, because and the medication helps you feel nothing. And this can also be difficult with, like, the autism diagnosis thing I have going on, because people already think I'm so, like, don't have emotions, and then I'm on drugs, like, on antidepressants, and then it's, like, compounded even more. But I'm like, look, I'm the one who's dealing with my internal state every day. Like, you guys aren't. So you can say whatever you want about how you perceive me or how I seem to feel my emotions. I don't really care, because it's not your business. You're not the one who's, like, feeling my feelings for me. And I think a lot of times it's like, there's a whole thing, and people, personality disorders have this, but I think this is also an autism thing. It's like cognitive empathy versus emotive empathy, and emotive empathy is kind of the stupid one, because it's like you feel other people's emotions, but you don't know how to react to them, versus cognitive is like you don't take them on per se, but, like, you know how to respond to them, like, in a logical way. So yes, I think autism may also have this emotive empathy problem. Okay, so I just, like, went on medication, and I went to a different psychiatrist who I also did not like, and the one thing I say that he got right is he put me on an SNRI. So I've actually only been on an SNRI. I have not been on an SSRI. And so this is what I take. This is the generic version. Can you even see this? Yes. But Prestique is the, what's it called? The non-generic, the name brand one. And the reason I like this one is it's a norepinephrine inhibitor rather than a serotonin one, which kind of can help with focus more, and I like that because I don't really get my ADHD properly treated. In addition, the only thing I've ever been able to get them to put me on is atomoxetine, otherwise known as Strattera. So I was mostly taking this at 40 milligrams. I did get bumped up to 60 at some point. This is non-habit forming. You can come off of this whenever. So like I've been on and off of this a couple times. I'm not currently taking it. God, I wish I was, but I'm not. I got pulled off of it. But this is at 25, which is fine. I was at 50 at one point when I first came back because I felt like it just wasn't working. And then I weaned myself off, and then I went back on to 25, and I like stayed at 25. Yeah, weaning myself off, I just kind of like was cutting the pills in half for like a week or two, and then I started like taking them every other day for a week or two, and then I went on a trip and I forgot them, and then I was fine. So that's kind of what happened. All right, so a lot of it is I've just like learned to reintegrate into American society after being in Finland and having actually a fun life, or having a life for once in my life. But I just feel like either way, it does not matter if I'm in the US or in Finland, you know, I'm the problem. It's like I have emotional dysregulation issues. This comes from a lot of things. It comes from being raised in a household where you're taught to suppress your emotions, and emotions are bad. This is not just your household. This is all of American society. Okay, this is the way Americans operate. And this is why antidepressant use is common in America. But it's not just common in America. It's common in a lot of other Western countries. However, you know, I still feel like we're lucky a little bit to live in a country where the stuff is actually okay. Because, and I'll be super honest in admitting, like, I have never seen my mom so disappointed in me than the day she found out that I had to take antidepressants. Like, it felt like I killed somebody. Like, it was distressing, honestly. Like, it kind of broke me a little bit, and I just got over it. Now I'm, like, so over everything that anybody thinks about me. Like, I don't give a crap. They can just go somewhere else because I'm not dealing with them. But so that's another thing, that this is how I explain it. I'm like, the antidepressants make it so that I just don't care. Like, that's the best, but not like in a bad way. It's just like the things that normally just like bother you a lot and like get under your skin, you just can't stop thinking about. It's like they still bother you. Don't get me wrong, but like it's not the same level of being bothered. And I just remember when I first went on the antidepressants, I was like, I feel so good. Like, and I remember I have another friend who went on them, and then she's like, is this how normal people feel? I'm like, yes. Like, people without emotional dysregulation issues, yes. And like, it's kind of like you realize you could have felt this way earlier, and you kind of get like upset, right? But I felt like I'd go to sleep at night, I'd be with my dogs, and I would think, like, I'm happy. And I, like, never had that thought, just, like, going to sleep at the end of the day, like, I'm happy. It's not quite this intense anymore, because I'm sure I have some tolerance at this point. But, you know, getting to the point where I could actually not feel stigma around them, because when I tried to go on Lexapro the first time, I think I was still just, like, too weirded out by the idea of going on antidepressants. And I kind of had to work with a therapist to be like, you know, I mean, I have been talking about, like, should I go on meds? Should I not go on meds? Should I go on meds? Should I not go on meds? And I was really worried about the whole you can't drink when you're on meds thing, which was a big issue in Finland. That's kind of why I didn't want to do them in Finland. I don't really drink in the US, so it's easier here. But to be honest, you can still kind of drink on them. Just don't go crazy, because, you know, both things get processed through your liver, so that's kind of the issue. And it's more like if you drink in moderation, have like a drink or two here and there, it's really like not a problem. Most psychiatrists will tell you that. So I finally like got to a point with a therapist where it's like, my therapist told me, if you need to take medication to be the best version of yourself every day, there is no shame in that. And like, I really had to sit there and think about that and be like, is that what's going on? And I got to this point where I'm like, I'm living with myself every day. I'm working from home. I need to be feeling well enough so that I can function, so that I can do my job, so that I can like be a productive member of society. I understand I don't believe that I'm fulfilling my societal role of being a married woman with children. I think this is why these Russian comments bother me a lot, because I'm like, yeah, on one hand, it's like, that's all I saw growing up, okay? Was like, you just got married young and you had kids, and then you sat around the house and took care of the kids. You don't sit around the house, you just be around the house rather, or you go grocery shopping, or you go shopping, and this is like what you do as a woman. And then I'm like, on one hand, it's really cool to like be independent and have your own money and travel and do what you want, but like on the other hand, I was like, it still like felt like this void of like me not doing what I was supposed to be doing. Like, and again, stupid societal expectations, but like, I'm just being honest with like where a lot of these disquieting thoughts were coming from. Okay, so, you know, I went on it, let's say, started taking it October or something. I upped my dose. Yeah, actually, I think it was like, I started taking it while I was in Texas, end of October, beginning of November. And they do talk a lot about, like, this is an awkward thing to discuss, like, sexual side effects, but, like, yeah, you just, like, I experienced no sexual attraction. I felt like I was asexual for a month, and I've always wanted to be asexual. That's like the only category of people in the world I probably actually feel sincerely jealous of, because I just think about how much easier my life would be if I like did not experience sexual attraction, because I already like am pretty independent and behave asexually. But like I was just like, wow, like this is cool. But most people think that's bad, right? Because a lot of people are like in relationships or trying to be in relationships, and this can cause a lot of issues in somebody's relationships when they, aren't interested in this activity. So that is one thing, just for clarity, that is true. Like that will happen. You're going to be like, just don't care, not interested. Fine, again, nobody likes to discuss that, but it is there. But then that goes away, unfortunately. But, I'd say that was going on for like the first month or two. That was pretty cool. Then it stopped. But then I felt like when I upped my dose to the 50, I was feeling like really good. And then I started having issues again, just, my personal life by like April, but then I was weaning myself off of them because in preparation for the neuropsych eval. And I had gotten taken off of so that's all the antidepressant, which, I pretty much want to stay on this for as long as I can because I like it. Now, as for the Strattera, and one of the issues I'm going to talk about with like any sort of, what is it called, like stimulant medication or any sort of ADHD medication, the biggest thing is constipation sucks. Yesterday I was talking to my brother about what's worse, constipation or childbirth, and he's like, childbirth is a one-time event, constipation is a lifelong struggle. And then me and his girlfriend started cracking up at that because it was pretty funny. But yeah, so constipation, not fun. Gotta take lots of magnesium, but still, it sucks. I do feel like it helps me start things and stay a little bit more on task. It does take some time for it to build up in your system. Like, it does help, and I would like to probably eventually stay on it too. It's not habit forming. But I think the thing I was getting most frustrated with was just the fact that I was not allowed to try Adderall because of the whole, I have a personality disorder, so I'm going to get addicted to Adderall, and then it's going to create substance abuse issues, And I'm just like, look, man, I kind of enjoy my ADHD brain when I don't need to do my full-time job. So I don't think I just like want to be on those. And I talked to this girl at the restaurant, and she kind of explains to me how she like schedules her Adderall pills around like when she needs to work, and then she like people do the vacation thing, what do they call it, like a drug holiday, like where they just don't take them on weekends, or they do this with kids too, like not in the summer, not on weekends, like not when you don't need to focus on like sit down boring stuff. So yeah, there's that. And then the other thing is like, I've been so successful and I had such a high GPA and I'm such an overachiever. I'm like, but do you understand at what cost and mental anguish it has been to accomplish these things while having ADHD? Like it sucks. Like I don't even know how else to explain it. So I eventually would really like to try these stimulant medications because I'm also like, dude, like I'm almost 30. Like, what do you think I'm going to be doing walking around abusing these? Like, I don't even have like college connections anymore to like sell these things to people. Like, I don't understand. Like, literally don't understand. So, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of experience with trying other things other than these two medications I've just listed, but I think they've both helped me in ways that, like, I really wouldn't have expected. I feel like I'm a super big advocate and proponent of antidepressant use at this point because of how I've seen it help me and people around me, like my friends who have also been struggling. So if you're even a little bit curious about it, I would recommend it, honestly. Obviously you need to go to a mental health care professional, but I don't like the idea that there's so much shame and stigma around it. It's like, it's just something that people do and it helps them, and it's sort of like, if you can get help, why shouldn't you? I don't know. That's how I feel. I don't think there's any shame in who I am or what I need to do to manage my own feelings and my own internal environment. I think it's just part of what I need to accept to move on and live a happy, healthy life. And I just hope that, whoever needs help out there can get the help that they need and deserve. Like, I really strongly feel that way. I say that a lot. And honestly, I'm not really sure what else to add, but I hope that this video helped at least one person. That's what I always say about these. And yeah, it's like a pretty, as my one commenter saying, vulnerable thing to like put all this out on the internet, but like, whatever. I don't care because at this point, as I say, like, these reactions are much easier for me to manage because, like, you're not physically sitting there and I don't physically feel your energy, so it doesn't make me as tired. But yeah, so this video, again, dedicated to my cousin, and I hope it's been helpful. Alright, so until next time, bye.